Hello, Cuffy Proctor here. I am sorry I haven't made a video in a while. For those of you who know, I've been in and out of the hospital um, for a minute with pancreatitis, and it's been awful and terrifying too. Going to the hospital with the whole COVID thing. But I haven't made a video in a while, and I've been just kind of down and out, getting through it. Long story short, doing a lot better, but that's not the reason for the video today, and neither is the heavy politics discussion that I had yesterday on Facebook. This isn't, a video to reinforce my perspective, although I am not for the police just having an unlimited ability to do whatever the hell they want and have no accountability. I also understand the dangerousness of the job, the lack of training, the need to have things like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example, as a not option versus just unlimited ammo and riot gear and militarization of the police. I think it needs to be more of a community thing and less of a at force, at will kind of scenario. But that's, again, not the reason I'm making the video today. I think the really important thing is something much bigger than that, and it's the fact that after a long argument on Facebook about the discussions of police brutality on a young kid just getting kind of like roughed around, and thrown to the ground. And it wasn't anything severe. Like his face wasn't smashed off the ground or anything. They didn't pound his head. They put a spit bag over his face, which I understand that. The scenario, you can't have communicable diseases. Totally understand that. But my problem is more so with the fact that it's a child, and there is just not the type of social, enforcement for a scenario like that. They leave it to the cops or the social workers or the families or the people in between. The families leave it to schools, social workers, cops. So I understand the scenario that, again, not the reason that I am messaging. Much more of the scenario is, I think, the topic matter is a heated topic matter. And I think what happens, and what has happened far too often lately, and I say this a lot on my channel and the podcast in general, is that things are getting exacerbated by social media. And I think there's a big part of that is words that are inert, right? Like, I mean, people can text things out in a long form, like yesterday, for example, arguing online, on Facebook, whatever, long back and forth. But the problem is when you text, people aren't hearing your sarcasm or any of the things that you're thinking in your head. So it comes off, however, to the other person. I think a lot of that inflames and catalyzes what's going on. But you know what? I think our foreign adversaries know that. And I'm going to submit to you a pretty crazy idea. And I think that it's crazy enough to be true. And I think it's something that, as Americans, we need to really take a hard look at, because we're not. We're wrapped up in our own personal family bullshit. When I say personal family bullshit, I mean in our country, infighting in our country, between the two parties, and even within the Libertarian Party, for example. So this is a lot for libertarians too. We infight like a motherfucker, and it is not good politically to gain grounds or gain any type of people into our party. At the same time, I understand the type of discord that's going on, and the type of opinions that are very strong. So I think it's our right to have opinions. It's the reason why we discuss things, is why we argue. Things have not been more heated recently. It is that is this misconception that we've gotten more catalyzed because of social media only. Like, no, human beings have been pretty brutal to each other for a long time. And I think that we're actually getting more aggressive and more empathic. So that's, again, not the reason that I'm here. And we're almost 4 minutes in, so let me get to the reason. Foreign adversaries are what I'm concerned about. China specifically. And I think this is something that both Democrats and Republicans and libertarians can get behind, is that the Chinese Communist Party is a massive humanitarian problem. And also economically, they're a huge issue. We owe them tons of money. We also rely on them economically the same way they rely on us economically. But there's this tension that's been going on for a long time. And I think that it's not even so much a tension as it is just country focus, nationalism rather, from China. And it's understandable because they, like us, are nationalists in a lot of ways, but they're communists at the same time. So they're building up this mega propaganda that within their own country that has basically demonized the West, and their goal is a little long game, 4D chess. They are sitting back and watching, calculated, carefully, economically, a powerhouse. And we've just sat back and let it happen. So Donald Trump's right about that. I'm going to give him 100% on that. China is a big concern, and we haven't been concerned enough about China. And I think that sanctions aren't far enough. And I think that the CIA and the intelligence, this is the sad thing. This is what I'm getting to that I'm really concerned with, is that the intelligence community doesn't have a relationship with the president. There's this whole breakdown between the president and the intelligence community. Whether you agree with the president, you agree with the intelligence community, the problem is they are our intelligence community for foreign interference and all of that. So there's a big amount of information that I don't think is going to the president. I don't think he has all the information, and I think that's a negative. I think that's really bad and a stupid idea on their part. And I think it's another, Democrats versus Republican partisan issue that is blinding everybody from the truth that Russia, China, and North Korea are all working together to bring our country down via social media, Discord, us against family. I mean, yesterday's a good example. You can watch people go at each other, including like myself. I get heated, but I don't really go name calling. But it gets heated, and it happens between people who aren't family members, people who are family members. Like, this stuff happens all over the United States right now. And a lot of people are being impacted by troll accounts. And so this is really happening. I don't necessarily believe that Trump had any idea that they were meddling in our election. But I do believe that that's where the whole thing with Mueller spun up, and why they had a leg to stand on is because they're interfering in our election. And it's almost like to help him to get reelected. But I don't think that that's the case. Because to help them or help him, they could give a fuck about any of us. It is to stir the fucking pot, and that is it. They want us to be rioting in the streets. They want us to be breaking down socioeconomic breakdown. They want that. Obviously, we're the powerhouse of the police of the world, and they're sick of it. The whole world's been sick of it for a long goddamn time. And now, more than ever, we need to come together and recognize it is what it is, and I think that in the background, there are all these different, movements happening that nobody's really paying attention to. And the real concern that I have is that while we're arguing, we're losing our foothold in the world economy, and we've lost the respect of our allies. We've broken so many things. Whether you agree with that, again, this is not a political thing. I really am not a Democrat for sure. I voted Democrat in the last election primary because of Andrew Yang, but that, I'm a registered libertarian, and I'm probably going to vote Joe Jorgensen this election. That being said, I think that there's a big problem here that we're not paying attention to. There's interference in our elections. There's definitely been interference in this one. The coronavirus exists, and whether it was naturally occurring or if it was, I don't think it was engineered. I think it was more than likely naturally occurring. But somebody didn't have a problem with it getting out. I think that may have been an accidental release, purposefully. And that's crazy, right? I mean, that plays into the some of the Trump QAnon stuff, right? But I don't believe that necessarily either. I think it's, they say the truth is stranger than fiction, and I think a lot of it out there right now, what's happening is a collection in pieces from everybody. I don't think everybody's 100% right, and I don't think everybody's 100% wrong, and I think that seems more realistic. Occam's razor, the simplest explanation tends to be the correct one, and in this case, I think that's exactly what it is. I think that North Korea is blowing up a liaison office. There's this whole thing that's going on in North Korea right now. Shit is about to get awful, and I think that we really, as a country, need to come together right now, like right fucking now, because it's about to get ugly. And although the people in the streets do not want to be hugging dudes with red hats, we need to come together right fucking now, because if we don't, it's curtains. And I am almost 100% just gut feeling. I go off of that a lot, but you know what? My gut's almost never wrong. Even people in my life that I've lost, like, I knew it was going to happen. And this is just one of those things that's like, I know. I don't know how or why it all kind of put together in my head, but I know there's something bigger going on, and we are all just fighting with ourselves. We're dumb and complacent as a country. We've really lost our foothold in the world economy, and we're so self-involved, and we've got our head so far up our own ass, we have no idea what's going on with these mega political mega structures and geopolitical relationships that are happening or have happened, and they're all communicating and sowing this type of slow breakdown. I don't think that we have to do anything right now other than take a deep breath. And I think that it's hard, to say that when you get so heated and passionate about something. I understand that completely. Not being able to stop yourself, but really, when you stop and think and look around, our economy is bust. It is gonzo right now. Gonzo right now. It's kaput. We're in a really tough spot economically, and you can blame the president if you want. You can blame coronavirus. I blame our foreign adversaries, and I blame a collection of these things to be. I could totally see China killing off a ton of people because they could give a shit about humanitarian efforts. They kill their own people all the time, and they could give a fuck less. They're really focused on population control and that whole New World Order thing. If you believe that, I really just believe that they're trying to create some sort of one world government, at least loosely, which I understand that. I think there's people that, are going to point out Obama and all that. And I don't disagree. I actually agree in some aspects. But again, some crazy conspiracy theories there. That's my own personal thing. I don't believe anything 100%, but I always kind of believe it about 60% and just kind of try to put the pieces together in my head. And although it may not be well articulated, I do think that this view is real. And if we start really putting the pieces together between Ukraine and Russia and all these different, things that are happening right now, even right down to Cuba, we're in for a ride, folks. And this is my calling to arms, so to speak, is that obviously we're not going to be forming in the streets against a foreign adversary that's not here yet. But I also don't think them storming the streets is going to be realistically what happens. I think that this has been a concern for a while. We have a real bad infrastructure when it comes to internet, when it comes to highways, when it comes to the whole thing. But the one thing that we do have, is the Second Amendment. And whether you agree with guns or not, this is a rough time to be suggesting that we give all of our guns to the government, right? I mean, people are in the streets fighting against the government. So again, when people argue against the Second Amendment, they really aren't factoring in really what that entails. When they're arguing against normal people having guns without background checks and all that, arguing against it rather, they've got a little look at the whole picture. And again, I can see both I'm a firearm owner, and I also strong support for the Second Amendment. But at the same time, I'm not, over the top about guns. I know a lot about my weapon, but I'm responsible about keeping it, safe. And that's not really what I'm talking about here. But the big thing is I think that it's crazy for us to be suggesting that we, somehow give up all of our guns. And especially now, like, what the hell is going on in our country? I think is this a big sidetrack from what's really going on. And I think people are angry. They have a right to be angry, 100%. But I feel stupid. I feel conned. I feel like facepalm. We're sitting here, we're arguing about, Black Lives Matter, and they do, obviously, 100%. But pretty soon, that other perspective about the entire country is going to come to light, and that it's going to be us coming together and not being against each other, because I think that this is the thing that we'll always find economically, is that war is a hell of an economic boost, unless it's a civil war. So take that with a grain of salt. I do think that there is some things that are coming down the pipeline that are going to change us irrevocably as a country and a nation. It scares the hell out of me. But I really think that we need to be prepared for the realistic possibility that this is all a big chess game geopolitically with our adversaries. I really think that this is all being engineered by at least China and Russia, if not North Korea also. They're all allies, and they have all been moving pieces on the board together for a while. Posted something a while back about, China and Russia doing exercises in the China Sea or something like that a little while back. And they were just, there's a lot of buddy camaraderie going on. I think that, and this is, whether because they're both communists or I don't know, it could be a wild fucking conspiracy theory. I absolutely accept the reality of that. But if you really start looking at things, Trump has no idea what's going on. He didn't want to be president to begin with. I think it was all to build a brand, and all of a sudden, boom, he's in the office, and it's like, okay, well, now I've got to stick to all my promises, and he's just playing it as he goes. And I'm not trying to inflame this situation by, shitting on him as a president. Everybody knows my perspective on him. But what I am trying to point is that I don't think that anything's been nearly as calculated and thought out as everybody's making out to be. I think that that's a lot that they're putting on the president and the president's office that is undue. So I will give that. But do I think that he knew what he was doing when he got in there? I don't. I think when he got in there, it was fucking Hail Mary time, and it's been that way ever since. He doesn't want to be responsible for death, but he's going to be, and it's going to be rough. I mean, he already is in a lot of aspects, obviously. But I think that goes on every U.S. president, including the last one, who was not better in that facet. He dropped a lot of bombs, more bombs, I think, than Trump so far. So Again, not important. What is important is I do think that there is going to be this heavy discussion on how we come together. And it's going to happen. If we don't have that discussion, we're in a bad place, folks. We're in a real bad place. We're divided more than ever. Conquer and divide. Divide and conquer is the thing, right? It's old art of war kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure you just sow discord between the enemy and have them break down on their own. You have less of a weaker enemy to beat. It's just easy. It's simple. And it's been happening for a long time. So to think that they would just stand by and let us gain all this economic standpoint. No, like Russia and China have been doing a lot of planning for a long time. And I think that Russia just kind of knew that China was this planned out, long form experiment, right? They're starting out, it's real rough initially, but they eventually are getting to the point where they're going to claim socialism works and that it's built this economically pure thing. And this will be 100 years in the future, in my opinion. And they will their goal is to be this economic powerhouse and be the #1 place in the world, and just blow America right out of the water. And I think that if they play it long, they could do it. I mean, we are rickety as hell right now. We are like a rickety old raft, and they are like a battleship, dude. And we've really just been borrowing money from that battleship. So take your, time to arrive upon whatever conclusion you do, but think hard about what is transpiring right now around the world, and think hard about what's happening right here at home. And there's a lot of people obviously protesting in the streets that are angry, that have a real reason to be. I'm not discounting that. But there's also some other stuff going on behind the scenes. And I think it's about more than race. I think that the other countries know that we had slavery longer than everybody else, know that we have all this PC culture concern, and we are easy to wind up, right? And that's exactly what's happening. And I do believe that between all the Russian trolls and the election interferences and all these things, they didn't just interfere with Trump and try to get him. They also helped Bernie Sanders. There's a lot going on here that we are not watching, and I don't even know the president has any idea of, because the relationship between him and the information agencies, the CIA, and so on and so forth, it's a pretty brittle relationship, and it's really, I don't think it's really counterfeit. It's not real, and that's a concern I have, is that could cost us, because that one little bit of continuity break, and one little break in the circuit, it's an important circuit. And I just hope that all of us as a country can really recognize these things before it's too late. For your family, for mine, it's not much I can do other than just spill my opinion into thoughts, into videos like this and online. And although they may seem angry, a lot of times they're angry, but they're not, I'm not screaming at people in my head. It's more so, I can't go protest and walk around because of the cane things, and that's a frustration, because I do want to be out there supporting people and going against authoritarianism. I do want to show my support for the communities of marginalized life. Like people are dying, and I do think that it's wrong, and I think a lot of people were just shocked by the Floyd video. So at this point, I can really just, try to get my opinions out there, expressed here through music, art. Those are the mediums I have. So thank you for listening. As always, I appreciate your guys' likes and all the subscribers that I've got for now. It's been really big, and I owe you guys a lot for subscribing and keeping things going, because I haven't been able to lately. And it means a lot. I've been getting a lot of views and stuff on older videos I didn't expect. So new subscribers and all that, thank you. I'll see you soon.